Hey, so speaking of stuff like math and physics,
Yeah,
um, I want to talk
anime.
about Fast X. So, I'm sorry, but it's
uh,
it's been like almost 50 minutes and I'm kind of chomping at the bit.
yeah, I know that Guilty Gear game is yeah, I've heard
uh,
Guilty Gear Fast 10.
yeah, Fast 10. Yeah, Vin Diesel's the new Guilty Gear character.
Yeah, it's like A tier.
So, okay, so I think I think back when Kat and I did our big marathon of the Fast and Furious movies, the Fast Saga, as it's called. Actually, no, that's what the ninth film is subtitled. It's called Fast Nine: The Fast Saga for no fucking reason. Um, uh, I think I vaguely told you about my thoughts on all of them at the very least.
Do they trend like do they get worse as it goes on, you think, or better?
No, it's weird. You can basically split the series into three trilogies. So the first three are kind of like the grounded ones. They're the ones that are more about, some people are like when it was about street racing kind of thing. And of those, I think all of them are actually pretty good. At least pretty good. I really like the first two movies. I think Tokyo Drift is actually pretty decent. Which I think is the only one you've seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
And then there's the second trilogy, which is where they start. It's like a weird transition point where the fourth film, which is just called Fast and Furious, that one's kind of whatever. Fast Five is great. That's like my one of my favorites in the whole series. Six is also pretty good. Not That's Kat's personal favorite. Um, like pretty solid trilogy all around. And then the third trilogy, seven, eight, and nine, is when they stop pretending that these are real movies. And uh, and of those, the only one that's at all decent is seven. Seven's actually pretty all right. That was the last one with Paul Walker in it.
Right.
Um, he died, I think, during filming actually. Uh, so eight, like the worst one. Eight is like the worst one in my opinion. Fate of the Furious, Fate. And then Fast Nine is just kind of bad. It just sort of, I don't like it. So going into Fast X, all I wanted out of it is like, as someone who legitimately likes these movies, all I wanted out of this one is that it was better. I just wanted it to be better than like 8 and 9. I just wanted it to be better than those ones. If we got like a half decent Fast and Furious movie, I would have been at least content. And we watched the whole thing, and Prox, I turned to
Yes.
Kat. I turned to her as the credits were rolling, and I said, "Babe, that was the best one since Fast Five."
Nice. I thought you were gonna say something funny like this is the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
No, well, yeah, but it's also the best one since Fast Five. Both statements can be true. Um,
Jeez.
I unironically had a great time with Fast X. Um, and it's interesting because it it definitely feels okay. I have to double check actually real quick. Fast Nine, who the writer was. Um, okay, right, okay. So it was a very similar writing team for the last couple films, including this one. Oh hey, lowercase visor, thank you. Congrats on the one on 1 million. Yeah, we did it, 1 million.
1 million troops.
uh, okay, so I don't know what changed between this movie and the last one because it's almost the same writing team. But like same like two or three people worked on it basically. But it is like significantly better and has way more of the stuff that I like from the series. So there's this interesting. So the reason that like it really starts to go downhill after it's like a slow drop after five. It's like a slow, very slow decay, in my opinion. When you and then you jump from like seven to eight, and it's like, wow, this sucks ass. And the reason for that is because this might sound weird, Prox, but the the thing that really made the Fast and Furious films was the characters. And
Okay, I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
most people would not. They would be like, think like, oh no, it's like the action or whatever. But no, what for me, the core, like the heart of the series is the character. And I know this is really funny because if anyone's listened to the last two podcasts, I just spent those talking about like the Before trilogy, which are like some of like the most well written, like deepest complex character studies I've ever seen. Um and then I'm also now one episode later I'm talking about how I love Dominic Toretto. His bald head. I love all the bald men in this series. But it's the characters are not like they're not deep, they're not complex. They have very simple motivations. They have very simple backstories. Um, Everyone's just super straightforward, but they're fun. They're likable, and they're crazy pieces of shit, and I like seeing them do crazy, equally crazy shit. Um, and there's this strange kind of like it's not really a flanderization, but after Fast 5 there's this weird trend with the films where all the characters kind of end up like just fitting into these little slots, whereas
Like
before,
Flanderdized or
yeah,
whatever.
they get like standardized into
Flanders.
oh, Flanders. Sorry, no, I thought you said
Yeah,
standardized.
Flanderized.
Not sort of. It's sort of mix of that, and we're like, we need to find a role for each one of these characters on the cast. Like, Tyrese Gibbons' character or Gibson, sorry, not Gibbons. I think a gibbon is a monkey. Tyrese Gibson's character, Roman, he was introduced in Too Fast, Too Furious, and he comes back in Fast Five a few films later, and his character was always like, oh, he's kind of a hothead, he has fun but he's got a serious side, he's like a fun character, and it's like a charismatic performance. And then after Fast 5 he just starts turning into like a comic relief character. He just starts turning into like the one that everyone dunks on and makes fun of, and it's like, oh, it just kind of like the character just gets like streamlined in this weird way, and like almost every character goes through that. It's really weird.
So
And
you're saying it's like an anime?
yeah, kind of. It's like when the author doesn't know what to do, so they're like, what's this guy's deal? I
Throw
have to give
this
you a
character
role.
down.
Yeah. And they were never that deep, right? But they were at least like kind of multifaceted. And if you watch the first few movies, they have like real personalities that are kind of fleshed out. Um,
Yeah.
uh, and there's like one character in particular who I think is symbolically important in this series, and it's the character Han. You watched Tokyo Drift, right? Like a many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Han is he's the mentor character. He's the guy who teaches the main guy how to drift. If you, I don't know if you remember him too well.
I actually don't, which is weird. Like I it hasn't been like that long, like 5 or 6 years. Anyway, I should remember who he is, but I don't.
Yeah. So well, that's what he is in Tokyo Drift. And I don't know if you. This is. I guess this is spoilers, but Han dies at the end of that movie. The problem is that he was super popular. He was really he was really popular with audiences. Um So when they went kind of like soft rebooted the series with the fourth film, they brought Han back and basically said Tokyo Drift takes place way later in the timeline. So they can
Right.
have him come back for 4 and 5, and he is easily my favorite character. Um, uh, so 6 is the last one that he was in. Well, okay, it's a little complicated. Six Six was the six takes place right before Tokyo Drift, or like a few years before Tokyo Drift, basically. So he dies in between 6 and 7. Wait, lowercase. What do you mean? The main guy learns how to drift in the fourth film? What do you mean? Oh no, did you just watch Fast and Furious? Oops, oops. You should have watched them all in order. Sorry about that. Um, um. So he dies in between films, right? And he's
Yeah.
absent for 7, 8, and 9 until. Well, sorry, I should say until 9. Where he's just actually he was alive, and you're like, what? He exploded. Like he fucking his car flipped over, and there was like a fuel leak and a fire, and he fucking exploded in the middle of Tokyo, and everyone saw it. And then in 9, they're like, actually, he was a hologram.
What?
And it makes no fucking sense. Um, but Han's back, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, Han's back. And his presence is extremely important because something I realized in Fast X is now he's just a regular in the film now, where he comes in like in the last third of Fast 9, right? Now he's just a regular. He's throughout the whole movie. Fast Fast and Furious is ruthless. Actually, yeah, they're crazy. Um, Han is extremely important to the series symbolically because what I realized is Han as a character, he's not the best driver. He's not the best fighter. He isn't like a hacker man. He doesn't have all these like crazy underworld connections. Han is just the coolest dude ever. He's just like the coolest, chillest guy in the series, and I love watching him. And he's always like snacking on something. That's his thing. He's always got a little bag of chips or something. And he doesn't fit neatly into one of these little roles that they've carved out for all the characters. He's just kind of like there, and he's a cool dude. Uh, I guess that's like his character. So he's a cool dude, but it's so like loose, and having him there, it feels like symbolically, it's like, oh, everyone is a little, they get a little more. I don't know. He changes the dynamic a lot. Um, there's like some decent the characters feel a little less, yeah, like flanderized than before. So like the Roman character, he's still like the dude everyone makes fun of, but like he gets some moments. He has a bit where like, oh, they lose all their money, but he spends, I guess, all the time he just has like $10,000 in $100 bills just literally strapped to his body on a bulletproof vest for some fucking reason. So like
That's cool.
there's this whole there's this whole bit where they're like, we have to like, he's the only one with money. um yeah, visor. That's funny right now. And it's like, oh, okay, here's another big thing. The machismo was back in the film. The machismo, he and Ludacris's character get into a fist fight for like absolutely no reason, just no reason at all, and I'm like, yes, dude, yes, we're back. We're not back, but we're close. We're closer to the days when Paul Walker would drive backwards on a highway to impress some guys that he doesn't even like. You know, we're back to the days where he just stares at a girl and like speeds like 30 miles over the speed limit to impress her. Like this is what I wanted. There's a scene where they go to Rio, and I said in our 3 hour Fast and Furious discussion that the three core tenets of the Fast and Furious series is it's boom, vroom, and vavavoom. And this movie had all three. It had all three. we're in Rio, and there's a scene with there's just like it's like the night street racing area, like this the whole the they're at this Vin Diesel goes to like the scene, like the spot, and there's like 6 ass shots in a row. And I looked over at Kat. I said, "Dude, we are so back. We're
Oh,
back,
ass
baby."
shots? That's actually crazy. I thought that was just like unheard of anymore.
In the last few movies, it was, and it's a it was a shame, you know. There was a couple that brought their like 6 or 7 year old kid to this. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
The theater experience was interesting. There weren't that many people in the theater. There was them. They were the two interesting things was the kid behind us, and then also behind us there was a guy who fell asleep 30 minutes into the film after like the first talking scene.
Oh
Like, he
yeah,
could
I've heard
not
people snore in the theater before. It's
he
so fucking
he could
weird.
not be bothered. He fell asleep because I'm like I hear this and I look back. I'm like, dude, there's like one dialogue scene. What is your? And then he got up, like stumbled out of the theater to go to the bathroom, came back and fell asleep again. Like,
Yeah, he needed a break, bro. He just wanted to take his kid to the movie and just like
no, he
fucking.
was by himself.
Oh.
I'm like, why are you even here?
Yeah, that's pretty weird. I can't fall asleep during a movie, especially the last one I saw, Evil Dead Rises, because that was the loudest fucking movie I've ever heard.
Oh yeah,
Jesus Christ, man.
yeah. Other things that I liked about Fast X, the action was pretty solid. There was so every movie they've kind of been in this loop of having to like one up themselves. Um, the only Fast and Furious I've seen is the end credits for this movie, and my god, I'm keeping it that way forever. You mean like the end credits scene? The epic reveal, which we stayed for? I'll get to that in a bit. They haven't, so they've been in this thing where they've been trying to one up themselves every single movie. And also, hi, Salty. Every single movie.
Yo.
And where it's like, oh, we're gonna drive cars out of a plane. We're gonna drive cars in the Arctic, and on a nuclear submarine, and then we're gonna go to space in a car. And it's like, what else are we gonna do? And there's no one-upping in this film. It's just that like every scene is just like the craziest thing ever. That's kind of just what it becomes. Where like, uh, there's like a there's uh Vin Diesel. The first action scene that happens is it ends with Vin Diesel playing golf with a construction crane and an atom bomb. And then
What?
like and there's a nuke, a big spherical nuke rolling down the hills of Rome. And and everyone's trying to stop the nuke, and it's getting to like a bridge. It's over some water because the bad guy Jason Momoa, we're gonna talk about him in a second. He's trying to nuke the Vatican. And 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 it's like going over this bridge, and Vin Diesel can't stop it in time, but there's bridge there's the bridge is over water, and they're like, if we can get it in the water, it can dispel some of the blast power. And Vin Diesel's like, I can't stop the bomb. I can't stop the bomb. And then he's like, wait, because there's construction going on the bridge, and there's a big crane with like a concrete block on it that it's holding.
Yeah.
And he fucking goes off a ramp and smashes his car into the side of the crane, and it spins around and hits the bomb and knocks it into
God.
the water, and it explodes. And like I think they say nobody died. And
I don't know if that's how the classic nukes work, but go on.
and I'm like, this is okay, that was fun. All right, okay, let's go. He's playing, it was literally like a boom, like he's playing golf with it. Um
This is a
okay.
video game to him, bro.
It feels like a video game. And there's actually a scene where a character does this quick run through of like the fast, the Fast family's exploits, and there's a line where he says like, it doesn't matter if it defied the laws of physics, they did it. If they had a car, they
Yeah.
did it.
God, that'd be like the lamest reveal ever. They're all in a video game,
Oh,
by the
okay.
way. This is all in a video game.
This is all in Gmod. Vin Diesel has the gravity gun.
Yeah, he has the physics gun, so he just blue beams it, and that's it. Oh my god.
Um. So the villain in this movie is Jason Momoa plays him. Uh, Aquaman. So I was kind of expecting, like, you see Jason Momoa and you see that he's going to be the villain in a Fast and Furious movie. And you kind of imagine, like, what would you imagine, right? He's just going to be like, oh, he's just going to be like a tough guy or something.
Let me actually look up Jason Momoa. It's been
Yeah.
this guy, man. Oh, dude. I'm trying to think because pretty sure he's a pretty good actor and everything. Like I'm kind of trying to imagine he's like a tough guy or whatever. But
No. Jason Momoa in this film, he plays. Imagine if the Joker used Tumblr.
that sounds really funny.
He's the quirky Joker. like like it's the weirdest thing, but like he's having so much fun with it. His character is like, so his whole deal is that movie is kind of a best hits. It's kind of like a best hits of the series. They're just replaying. He is the son of the villain from Fast Five, who in that movie the villain was this like drug kingpin who like controlled Rio basically. And Jason Momoa, they reveal, was his son. And when his dad dies in that movie at the end, he vows revenge on Vin Diesel and the Fast family. But he's like a psychopath. They literally say he when he was like a child, he had like sociopathic tendencies, and was in and out of jail for like crazy murder like shit, and he's just a weirdo. um and he doesn't take anything seriously, and he wants Vin Diesel's loved ones to suffer. It's his whole deal, which is a replay of Jason Statham's character from Furious 7, where that's also his whole deal. Is Jason Statham was the brother of the villain from 6, and he's like, you put my brother in a hospital, now I'm gonna hurt everyone you love.
Touch your face, mate.
and that's literally Jason Statham's whole deal, but now he's like a semi-ally kind of character. So they're just redoing that, and then so Jason Momoa is like, I'm gonna like set you guys up so that you blow up Rome, and now you're wanted criminals, and I'm gonna turn everyone against you, and I'm gonna split you up, and I'm gonna threaten Vin Diesel's son and stuff like that. Oh, Vin Diesel's son. Okay, so oh my fucking god.
It's like JoJo's.
So Vin Diesel, right? You know what he looks like.
Yeah, I know him mostly as like Riddick. I don't know if you've seen any Riddick movie, but
yeah. So Vin Diesel, he's like the most Italian Catholic guy you could ever get. He is. Oh, I forgot.
I didn't know that.
They're doing. Just look at him. I don't even have to confirm that. I just know. You just look at him. Oh my god, I completely forgot. There's like a bit where he goes into Jason Momoa's like hideout, and Jason Momoa has this like serial killer like room filled with like screens playing a bunch of like pictures he's got of Vin Diesel and the other characters, and one of them is Vin Diesel's wedding photos, and Kat is like, oh my god, because this is from a previous movie. Kat's like, oh my god, I forgot that he got married in a wife beater.
Wow, he did? What the
Vin
fuck? That is
Diesel's
such a
character got
wow.
married to his girlfriend of like 15 years in the story, and he's wearing a fucking like white wife beater and white jeans. He looks like he's in a boy band, and he's he's always wearing like this cartoonishly large metal crucifix necklace.
Oh
It's
my
just like
god.
that's the shit that makes this
Uh
series great. That's what makes
yeah.
it awesome. Um,
It just seems like such a oh god damn it. I don't know why I think about this, but he just seems like really Italian though. I feel like that's sort of like such a like a Southern California meme to do.
yeah, because
Like
he's like an Italian American from I think he's from LA actually. He has that vibe.
yeah.
Um
And I don't even mean to be like, haha, I'm memeing on you. It's
oh
like
no,
not
well
that.
I'm
It's
I'm
just like
NorCal, so you don't have to mind.
yeah, yeah, we're talking shit about
Yeah, fuck
Southern
SoCal.
California.
I don't even feel like a totally different topic. I don't really feel that much kinship to like the Northern California region or whatever, but so you can talk shit. I make fun of Californians in general. I have no loyalties.
Yeah, I gotta be right back for a sec.
All right, cool. I'll continue. Okay, so actually wait, no, I wanted to mention to him the fucking hilarity of Vin Diesel's family. Um what else can I talk about to like put a bookmark in that? Generally like the action in it is pretty solid. Like it's pretty good crazy stupid car action where like it's these movies have become way funnier to me now that I've actually started like learning to drive. Cuz it's like you see the stuff that they do and you're like and before I was like well it didn't seem possible then. But now it's like that's no, like you can't do that in a car. I'm burping a bunch. You can't do that in a car, dude. You can't do that and survive. Every single car in this series is it's like it was built. These are just like, consumer cars. It's like they were built to withstand like a hurricane. Every single one. And it's no, like they roll over, they tumble 100 times. Um right, okay. Jason Momoa's okay, part of what really sold me on his character was that one of the first things he does is he fucks up Cypher. And if you haven't been keeping up with these movies, the villain of the last two was this god awful character named Cypher. Who's her actress? I always forget her name. Uh what the fuck what's her name? That blonde lady. There's a lot of blonde. Yeah. Oh, she's played by Charlize Theron. Okay, she's played by Charlize Theron, and okay, in very like short terms, I guess that's how you would say that. Um, Cypher is a character who's basically it's like the writers are trying to make her look cool all the time. Like they're really trying to make you believe that she's actually super cool and competent and dangerous. And for my Warhammer people in the audience, Cypher is like Abaddon. Cypher is like Cypher is like Abaddon. It's this character where like they're it's like the writers are like trying to justify them being the big villain and like no, actually they're super cool and like when they win it's cuz they were really smart and they meant for that to happen and it wasn't like forced at all. Um uh uh and I hate this character so much. Like I fucking hate Cypher. She's like consistently annoying because she's trying so hard. And I get that like Charlize Theron's probably giving it her best, but like you can't the dialogue in these movies isn't that great to begin with. But like she is not I don't know, man. Maybe you could have sold it, but it doesn't work. I can't stand this character. And the first thing Jason Momoa does, the first thing is he just fucks up Cypher's whole deal Cypher gets fucked up twice in this movie. Once by Jason Momoa, and then once by Michelle Rodriguez, which was awesome. That was great. She threw her through like a glass window, and she had zero cuts at all because this has just been like a consistent thing throughout the Fast and Furious series. But glass like doesn't cut people. It's all like sugar glass. With the hi Prox, you're back.
Yeah, it's great.
Glass just does not cut people. So like they both, like Charlize Theron and Michelle Rodriguez both go just flying through a glass window, and they with wearing just like tank tops, and they have like zero scratches at all. Where like you would be completely lacerated from that. Okay, I wanted to tell you about Vin Diesel's family. So in F9, they revealed that Vin Diesel's character Dominic Toretto has a long lost brother. Do you know who his brother is?
God damn it! Is it John Cena?
It's John Cena.
Oh my god!
And,
I don't know how I do that.
And the writers expect you to look at John Cena and Vin Diesel staring at each other, and they expect you to believe that they are not just like related, that they are blood brothers from the same mother. Like, are you serious? And like,
I don't know.
Yeah, because Vin Diesel. So Dominic Toretto has a sister. She's Mia. She's been a main character since the first movie. They look like they could be related. I forget the actress's name all the time who plays her, but they look like they could be related. But like and there's a Vin Diesel and John Cena. There's a scene. There's a line of dialogue where someone just offhandedly goes like, "Yeah, I guess you had some recessive Nordic genes in your family." I'm like, God, dude, come on. So, okay, so that was already goofy enough. So Vin Diesel has a son. He has a little kid. He has a little boy, and that is from after in between the second and fourth movies, Vin Diesel's girlfriend Letty died. She actually didn't die. It wasn't a hologram, but it was like something happened. So everyone thought she was dead. She actually had amnesia for like 3 movies. And in the meantime, after Fast 5, Vin Diesel's character hooked up with this Brazilian cop lady, and then they had a kid together. But then like it turns out the lady was alive, and then
Awkward.
in Fate of the Furious, Letty and Vin Diesel's character have been back for like a while, but they're like and like the Brazilian cop lady's just been kind of raising the kid, I guess, on her own, but then she gets kidnapped by the villain Cypher, who I just told the chat I fucking hate. And then Cypher kills the Brazilian cop lady, and Vin Diesel just adopts his own son. I guess he starts raising his kid. It's like a literal baby at that point. By this time, the kid is like, he's like 5 or something. He's like 6 or 7 at least. So, oh my god. Okay, so you look at the kid. So the mother character, she's Brazilian, but she's like kind of that like more Latino looking Brazilian, if that makes sense. Like a little more like lighter skin, like caramel kind of complexion kind of deal. And then you look at their kid, and the kid is just a black. Like he's just straight up like, there is no way these two people gave birth to this human being. There's no way. He's straight up just like a black child. and he's supposed to be Vin Diesel's like biological son, and I'm like, dude, what the whole family is so weird, dude. Like they have no regards for like casting to make it believable at all. It's so funny. Yeah, that whole deal is really funny. Oh, so Jason Momoa, some of the quirky things he does is he's always just kind of like he's always kind of dancing around, and he's in these like really like flamboyant. He's kind of like he's the quirky Joker, but he's also kind of like the first gay Joker as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if he's actually gay, but he's like always kind of he's just kind of like he's kind of like prancing around. He's a very like prancy, frolicky kind of guy. He's in these like silk shirts, and he's like doing his hair and painting his nails, and he's got like these two there's these like two guys that he's kind of like using at the start of the film to help him do hacker man stuff. And then I guess he killed them, but he doesn't just kill them, he also like takes their bodies and like uses like tape to like tape their faces open, so like their eyes are open and their mouths are in like these weird positions, and he's like painting the toenails on the corpses and like talking to them. It's fucking really weird. It's really weird, but he's like he is having so much fun. He keeps calling Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel's character, he keeps calling him Dommy Boy. No, not even Dom. He just keeps calling him Dommy. He's like, oh, dummy. Like, it's too late. I'm like, this is so
Yeah.
funny.
I just realized on your Fast and Furious podcast, you set the game as the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay.
Yeah, I did. I
That's
forgot
really
about that.
funny. That game has a lot of classic YouTube poop, like lines
Oh, really?
from it. Yeah, like shit that people use in a lot of other shit that like shit that Vin Diesel says basically. It's like really anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
classic. They
Um,
play that game.
Vin Diesel in this film continues his trademark brand of what I dubbed it micro acting, which is which is where he's not really like he like makes an he like something happens and he like tries to react. It's like watching like a monkey use sign language kind of thing. and and his face like struggles, like he tries to make an emotion, but like he never quite gets there. And there's so many moments in this film where like something shocking happens, like, oh my god, did that person die? And it cuts to Vin Diesel's face, and I know there's like a delay on the stream, or I don't even know if you're watching the stream, but for everyone watching, he just kind of makes this expression where it just cuts to his face and goes. That's for people who could could tab over for 1 second, and it's the
Yeah.
funniest thing. Like you can make a soy jack out of it so easily. It's hilarious. Um, he continues his like he doesn't really enunciate anything.
I just saw the face.
Yeah, he does that like a couple times throughout the movie when like Rome's about to get nuked. He just like a fish, and um oh so there's this whole fucking plot line where so the kid, the son, um Vin Diesel is like, I gotta go do Fast and Furious stuff, and John Cena, you take care of my kid while I'm gone. So John Cena and Vin Diesel's sister, who is Paul Walker's character's wife, in the series, shows up, and they do this really funny thing where like they pretend like they Paul Walker's character is not dead in the series. He just kind of drives off. He gets sunset. So like every time they do a plot line like this, there's always like, "Oh, don't worry, I just called Brian. He's all good." His wife, my sister's going to show up, but like Brian's not going to. Don't worry, he's a family man now. But she shows up, and John Cena show up, and they're like, it's like auntie and uncle, and they're taking care of little baby. Oh yeah, the kid's name is Brian too. in memory of the not totally not dead Brian character. Um, and then all these do so because they're wanted criminals. They come to like arrest, I guess, the kid. They come to arrest the child and Vin Diesel's sister, and there's this whole fight scene where she's like a tiny woman, and she's like kicking around these like fully armed men like over tables and stuff like that. And then John Cena, because I don't know, um there's a scene that was in the trailer that we were looking forward to so much, and when it finally happened we popped off in the theater. John Cena's on the second floor of the home, and he takes a dude and throws him through the floor. which is like
That's
which
such a
is like
John Cena move.
not the craziest thing at first, but if you think about it, the amount of force you would need to throw somebody through a hardwood floor from like just even like a standing position is unfathomable. Like, look at all the things in your room that your floor is holding up. Just like jump, and your floor, like, it doesn't cave in or anything. John Cena
Yeah.
just throws a guy through that. Like it's nothing.
I heard John Cena's character is just John Cena.
He kind of is. And it's funny because I like him significantly more in this movie than in the last one. He also dies in this movie, I think. Like, maybe it was also a hologram, but like, I don't know. In the last movie, his whole deal was he had a vendetta against his brother because of, I don't know, some bullshit that like really doesn't matter. And by the end of the movie, it's basically resolved, and he has nothing left to do. So the writers for this one just kind of were like, let's just let's just give him a new personality. And he is just in this film, he is fun uncle. He is fun John Cena uncle who goes on wacky adventures with his nephew. And I like it. He's fun. John Cena is like a pretty charismatic actor. He's pretty good like comic delivery. Uh he's good. I like him way more in this movie. There's this character that I cared literally nothing about, that I was not sold on at all, and they made him at least, pretty fun to watch. Uh ooh. Okay. There's a great Okay, so my enjoyment of the Fast and Furious movies, this is like completely all over the place, like this whole segment, but it's kind of because the film is all over the place. My enjoyment of the Fast and Furious films is partially measured by the amount of like I call it the oh fuck yeah moments, which is it's the bits it's the moments where I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's awesome, that's so
Right.
cool. Um, and there's a couple in this film. My favorite one is a thing that was it was the post credit scene of the last one. So Han, Sung Kang's character, Han, was so when he died, but not really. It was it was by Jason Statham's character. Jason Statham Shaw was going to he was trying to kill all the members of the Fast family, and he started with Han. So they like sort of not really a retcon, but they were like, oh, he's the one who did it. So there's this whole thing of like, Han and Shaw, they haven't met yet, since Han got came back in Fast 9. But the end of the movie is Shaw, Jason Statham beating up a punching bag in wherever, I guess his like home in London, and he's and he like unzips it, and there's like a guy in there who is like a character in that movie, and then he goes like, oh, shut up, mate, and he zips it back up and just starts beating the fuck out of him again. And then he gets a knock on the door, and he opens it, and it's Han, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? So we finally get that scene in this movie, and it's basically it's when they're completely out of money. They're in London. Oh yeah, Pete Davidson shows up for one scene, and he offers Han some LSD laced brownies, and Han has like one bite, and he's like, "That's a little much. I don't think I'm gonna eat any more of that," because he's a snacker, dude. It's so they're like in they're in Pete Davidson's like shop, and Han's like, you giving away these muffins, dude?" I was like, yes, he would say that. He would be looking for those muffins. So they show up to the door, and basically they're just going to Jason Statham for help. They're just like, "Hey, can you help us out, dude? Like we're totally getting screwed over. We need someone with like connections and stuff and weapons and cars and shit." And Han opens the door, and Jason Statham immediately thinks that he's like looking for a fight. And Han he's like, "No, no, like it's cool." And then he goes to his jacket pocket to like take out he's taking out like a bag of chips because he'd be snacking. And Jason Statham just kind of like on instinct just does its like judo throw where he like flips him over and like the chips go everywhere, and Han gets up and he's like, "Dude, you messed up my snack." And I was like,
Of course.
"Fuck yeah." Fuck yeah. It's like in JoJo when someone insults Josuke's hair, and then he like gets so angry that he like can ignore bullet wounds and shit like that. I was like, "Oh fuck. That's like a fun character little pop." I was like, "Yeah." And he completely loses the fight, but it all works out cuz again, he's not the best fighter, he's just super cool and he likes snacks. Uh let's see what other fun stuff is in this movie. Uh the it really is like a retread of like a bunch of plot beats. So it's like it's going back to like Fast 5. And there's action set pieces that directly reference ones from Fast 5, specifically the climactic one of that movie, which is where they steal a vault. They steal the entire vault. And they're dragging it around Rio on like a chain with two cars, and they're like swinging it into into like cop cars with like momentum and shit to like to like attack the that's like their means of attack. It's like a big mace they're swinging around on the street. Um, and they directly reference that in this movie where Vin Diesel. There's like two helicopters that have shot grappling hooks into his car, and he drives it off of like the like the side of a freeway, like off a bridge, and he makes the helicopters like crash into each other like that, like two little clackers, and then he starts dragging the helicopters behind him on the highway and spinning and throwing them into like the bad guy cars. And it's really funny. It's great. Um it's like this, yeah, the villain is very much just like the Furious 7 villain. Uh a lot of it, yeah, it's just kind of like the better ideas. There's like an actual street racing segment in the movie. It could have been I wish it was longer. Uh but I was like, okay, it feels like we're a little bit back. It feels like we're back where we should have been. Um I don't Oh yeah. Vin Diesel's son becomes a murderer. His little like 7-year-old child, he becomes a murderer. You see, John Cena has he's outfitted that when the bad guys find them, he reveals that he's been working on this car where it's like a regular car, except it has two giant rocket launchers attached to it, like twisted metal. And it has like 100 tank shells that are like belt fed that are attached to like the back of the car. Um, and it can shoot forwards or backwards, and they're like
Right.
being chased by these guys, and the son like launches the missiles and just fucking obliterates like multiple people. Like he's a murderer. Like he killed people, and then they're like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, you did it, kid." And it's like, are we not gonna talk about it? Like, is do you think Vin Diesel's character is gonna be at all upset that like his son has like killed people? He's like 7. uh, yeah, and then the film ends on 2 back-to-back cliffhangers. Because this is going to be the first in a series of finale movies. It might be 2 or even 3.
God.
And to be honest, I wish it was longer. The movie's already like 2.5 hours. I wish it was longer because I just wanted it to keep going. Um, speaking of oh fuck yeah moments, that cliffhanger is Vin Diesel and his kid. They're escaping, right? And they're driving to like this dam. They're like driving over this dam, off of like a service road, and suddenly they get cornered on both sides by these 2 like 18-wheeler like trucks that are full of gasoline, and they're being remote controlled by Jason Momoa. And it turns out that he was actually being set up by the guy who was like the new version of the Rock's character, who was actually a bad guy the whole time, who was in Jason Momoa's pocket. They've all been set up, and Vin Diesel, he's gonna get crushed in like the Mickey's Dick Smasher, but it's like 2 trucks.
What do you mean by that? What does that
Have you
mean?
never seen that?
No.
It's this. It was like someone just posted it one day. It's like a drawing of like a concept for a ride at Disneyland called Mickey's Dick Smasher, and it's 2 roller coasters that face each other, and you stand in the middle with your penis out, and they just collide on your penis in the middle.
Oh
and that's gonna happen to him. And Vin Diesel goes like, "You made one mistake, Jason Momoa. You let me keep my car." I'm like, oh fuck yeah. Oh, he's gonna do some shit now. And then he drives off the dam. And rides down it, and both the tankers crash into each other, and there's like a huge, gigantic mega explosion, and Vin Diesel's like driving away down the explosion, like down the dam, and then they both jump out of the car into the water and survive. This is like right after a scene where Jason Momoa had just kidnapped Vin Diesel's black son out of the car, and then Vin Diesel gets him back by driving parallel to Jason Momoa's car, and the kid jumps out of the moving vehicle and into Vin Diesel's car.
His black son.
His black son.
I
yeah.
love that.
Which is vaguely reminiscent of, actually this has happened multiple times. But it reminds me very much of the climactic scene from Fast and Furious 6, where Michelle Rodriguez and I can't even fucking describe it. I would just have to show you the clip. But a very similar thing, except instead of like going from one car to the other, they're both Michelle Rodriguez is being propelled off of a tank, over like a super high suspended highway, and Vin Diesel is jumping off of a car on the other side of the highway, and then he catches her in midair. It's pretty awesome. uh um yeah, right. And then Gal Gadot is alive at the end of Fast and Furious 6. She no, sorry, that wasn't the climactic Fast and Furious 6 scene with the tank. That was like the regular climax. Then there was a super climax with this plane that was taking off, and then they like there's this crazy scene with a plane, and then Vin Diesel like explodes inside of the plane, and then he drives a car out of the flaming wreckage, and it's awesome. He's like back from hell. But Gal Gadot's character, Giselle, fell off of like a car that was attached via grappling hook to the wing of the plane and got turned into like paste on the tarmac. And that sucked because she was Han's like love interest, and now Han is sad, and that's why I was upset about it. Well, it turns out that Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron were in like a super secret prison that was in Antarctica, and they escape by doing some like perfect dark Deus Ex climbing through vents shit. And then a big submarine comes out of the ground, and Gal Gadot is in the submarine, and she's back, and she might be a cyborg at this point. Cause like I don't know how you survive like hitting the pavement at like 70 miles per hour. That seems
Hologram.
pretty intense. Yeah, and she wasn't even in a car.
Right.
Um, yeah, I had a really good time with that movie. Oh, and then the post credit scene. Okay, so The Rock has been in this series since Fast Five, but he wasn't in the ninth film because I don't think he was, because him and Vin Diesel apparently hate each other. Apparently they just don't like each other, and they don't like working with each other because they're both
Yeah.
gigantic divas. So it was like, oh, The Rock is being like, he's being quietly moved out of the films. He's not going to show up anymore. I heard even that he got killed off screen, and I was like, oh, what the heck? The Rock? He could survive anything. He famously flexed a cast off.
That's it kind of reminds me of in video games when your character is like the biggest badass in the entire world, but then cutscene them becomes like puny and vulnerable and stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Rock is kind of like the game character all the time. Uh,
But he got cutscened. That's what happened.
that's what I thought. But there was no
Yeah.
acknowledgement of it in this film, and then in the post-credits scene, it turns out he shows up
Oh yeah.
in what I'm sure was like a second unit thing that they filmed like months after production because Black Adam didn't do well, and The Rock wanted to sign on again to get some monies.
That's funny as hell.
Um, where it's like, oh, you can, it's them like going to some random like dilapidated mansion or something, and everyone's in like full tactical gear, and you can't see anyone's faces, but there's like a phone that's ringing in like the middle of an auditorium, and the one character picks it up, one of these SWAT guys picks it up and answers the call, and it's Jason Momoa, and he's like, you know, uh Vin Diesel was the one who like stole the vault and like swung it around like a big mace and hit my dad and all that. But like you were the one who like shot him in the fucking head on the highway. So like I'm coming for you too. And then and then and then he takes his mask off, and it's The Rock, and then he crushes the phone in his bare hand. He crushes it in his bare hand, and he goes like, and he, I think the line is literally, not if I have anything to say about it, you some bitch. He really goes, you some bitch.
So big.
uh I thought, I thought that like, which is weird because I thought that like after Hobbs and Shaw that he was like retired. He's like a soccer dad in that movie, and I could have sworn that it takes place after, I don't know, at least before this film. So I guess he's back to doing his secret agent shit. But he's back, and I can't wait to see him be ludicrously, superhumanly strong in the future. Uh, I've told you about like some of the shit he does, right? Right?
Yeah, wait, sorry. I'm so sorry. I zoned out for a second.
That's fine. I've told you about some of the shit that The Rock does in these movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, how he like punches a steel wall and like makes a dent in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He told me it's basically become superheroes, kind
Yeah.
of.
Or there's like a torpedo that's like skating across the surface of ice, and he starts like spinning it around and redirecting it with his hand. Or like he's been in like a full body cast the whole movie in Furious 7, and then he just stands up and he goes like, that's it, and then he flexes his cast off, which is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen, because I said right before it, oh, what is he just gonna rip it off? And then he didn't do it. He flexes his arm and it explodes. um yeah, I can't wait for the next one. I think it's coming out in like 2 years, and I'm gonna take Kat to it. Even she had a good time. Even she had a good time, and she was going for me. She was straight up going for me. She showed me these movies to begin with, and now I'm the one dragging her to them, which is some poetic beauty.